If you're over 60, what I'm about to reveal will send a chill down your spine. This isn't a theory. It's the stark reality that hundreds of healthcare workers have confessed to me in private. There are 5 brutal truths about what your doctor is really thinking during your appointment. Truths that are costing you a proper diagnosis, respect, and potentially years of your life. Stay with me, because today you won't just discover these truths. I'm going to give you the exact weapons you need to ensure you never walk out of a doctor's office feeling unheard again. What you learn here could literally save your life. Before we dive in, I want you to do something for yourself. Type this sentence in the comments right now. Today, I take control of my health. This isn't just a video, it's a declaration. By writing it, you're making a commitment to yourself to never accept less than you deserve. And if you're serious about taking control, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell, because the information we share here is vital. Here's the roadmap of what we're about to uncover together. First, the mental label doctors assign to you the moment they see your date of birth on your chart. Second, the dangerous filter they use to dismiss your symptoms as just normal. Third, the most painful assumption about your mental capacity that directly impacts your treatment. Fourth, the use of medication as a silent method of control. And fifth, the coldest and cruelest calculation, how they put a price tag on the years you have left. But most importantly, after each point, I'll give you the precise strategy to turn the tables and demand the premium care you deserve. I want you to picture this. You walk into the doctor's office, you sit down, and before you even say a word, something invisible activates in the doctor's mind. It's not their medical intuition. It's a calculator. Your age on that chart isn't just a number. It's a variable in a brutal economic equation. In that instant, without you even realizing it, you're categorized. You cease to be a person with symptoms and become a cost variable. They see you as complicated and expensive. And this isn't the opinion of one burnt-out doctor. This is the fundamental programming of the healthcare system. A physician who spent 30 years in the ER and now works as a patient advocate confessed this to me in her exact words. In med school, we're taught an unofficial code, economic triage. We learn to calculate, in seconds, the resource intensity a patient will require. And anyone over 60 is automatically flagged as a resource red alert. More appointment time, more tests, more complex prescriptions, and therefore less profitability for the clinic or hospital. Think about what that means. Before you've even described your pain, an unconscious bias is already working against you, pushing for your appointment to be as short and as cheap as possible. Think that's an exaggeration. A study published in the Journal of General Internal Medicine revealed something chilling. Doctors interrupt the average patient after just 11 seconds. For older patients, that number is even worse. Another study showed that doctors spend 23% less time actively listening to them. What does that 23% look like in the real world? It looks like Maxine, a 74-year-old retired librarian. She didn't show up empty-handed. She brought a binder with weeks of meticulous notes, what she ate, when the pain started, what made it worse. She was prepared. But before she could finish her first sentence, the doctor held up a hand and said, "Ma'am, let's just focus on the main issue today, we're short on time." Her chest pain, detailed in that binder, was dismissed as age-related anxiety. 6 months later, Maxine wasn't anxious. She was in an emergency room having a heart attack. The real diagnosis finally came, but it was too late. Those 6 months of being ignored cost her an irreplaceable part of her heart muscle. That 23% less listening time isn't just bad manners. It's the difference between a full life and a permanent disability. It's a silent sentence handed down by a system that sees you as a number on a balance sheet. But this is where you take back the power. This bias feeds on generalities. Your weapon to destroy it is specific data. You have to change the script from your very first sentence. Never again walk in and say, "Doctor, I feel tired." That sentence is an open invitation for them to slap you with the "it's normal for your age" label. Instead, state this: "Doctor, I'm here with a specific goal. Over the last 3 months, my energy level, which I measure by my ability to walk without fatigue, has dropped by 40%. I've gone from being able to walk 3 miles to just under 2. My goal is to identify the biological cause of this decline and create a plan to reverse it. See the difference? You're no longer a complicated patient who complains. You're a fascinating project manager who brings data and seeks results. You disarm them. You force them to take off their accountant hat and put on their medical detective hat. This is the first step to hacking the system from the inside. Now, let's talk about the most dangerous phrase in modern medicine. It's not a complicated technical term. It's 5 simple words that act like a slow poison. It's normal for your age. This phrase is not a diagnosis. It's not science. It's a dismissal. It's the most socially acceptable form of medical negligence. It's a verbal smokescreen that allows a professional to close your case, avoid further testing, and move on to the next patient. It's a form of medical gaslighting, making you doubt your own perception of reality, convincing you that the pain, exhaustion, or confusion you feel is simply the unavoidable price of being alive. A geriatrician with 40 years of experience told me plainly, that phrase is the surrender of medicine. It's the moment a doctor stops being a detective and becomes a simple administrator of decline. Think this is a rare occurrence? The American Geriatric Society pulled back the curtain, and what they found is horrifying. Nearly 85% of serious medical conditions in older adults, we're talking heart disease, thyroid disorders, severe depression, and even cancer, are initially dismissed by doctors as just a part of getting older. Think about what this means in real life. The fatigue that stops you from playing with your grandkids isn't investigated, it's normal. That brain fog that terrifies you isn't studied, it's normal. That back pain that robs you of your sleep isn't treated, it's normal. It is an epidemic of indifference. And this epidemic has victims. Meet Andrew, a man who spent 40 years building things with his hands. He knew his body better than anyone. For 8 months, he went to his doctor describing a stiffness that felt like his joints were rusting from the inside. Visit after visit, the response was a pat on the back and the same condescending line, "Andrew, let's be realistic, you're not 30 anymore." They treated him like he was complaining about the weather. Until one day, fed up with being ignored, Andrew slammed his hand on the desk and demanded a full blood panel, threatening to get a second opinion. The doctor reluctantly agreed. The diagnosis came back: severe rheumatoid arthritis, an aggressive autoimmune disease. But the victory was bitter. Those 8 months weren't just lost time. They were 8 months of active, unchecked destruction. The damage to the joints in his hands was already permanent. The phrase, "You're not 30 anymore," wasn't a harmless comment. It was a sentence that cost him a piece of his livelihood forever. But this story will not be yours. This dismissal has a weak point. It hates data and direct questions. It crumbles in the face of logic. Never again accept that phrase as an answer. When they hit you with the, "It's normal for your age," don't argue. Don't get frustrated. Take a deep breath, look them dead in the eye, and counter with this surgically precise question. "Doctor, I appreciate your opinion. Could you please show me the studies or the evidence that demonstrates that this specific symptom, at this intensity and for this duration, is a normal part of aging and not an indicator of an underlying pathology?" Silence. With this one question, you've done 3 things. You've shifted the frame from a personal opinion to an evidence-based discussion. You've demonstrated that you are not a passive patient. You've put the burden of proof back on them, where it belongs. Most won't have an answer. And in that moment of hesitation, you follow up with the final blow. "So, what tests can we run to rule out the most serious medical causes before we settle on this being just age?" You've just cornered them with pure logic. You've just forced them to do their job. Now, I want to take an important pause. Knowing these truths is meant to empower you, not make you fear doctors. In fact, the most powerful tool you have on your side is prevention. Regular medical checkups aren't just a formality. They are the map to your body. They are the only way to get objective data about your health. When you go for an annual physical, you get numbers, hard data on your blood sugar, cholesterol, blood pressure. With that data in hand, no opinion can invalidate you. If a doctor says you're fine for your age, but your lab results show otherwise, the data wins. A regular checkup is your best ally in making your arguments in the exam room irrefutable. Don't postpone it. It's the first step to becoming the director of your own health. The silent insult, the doubt about your mind. Now we come to the cruelest bias, because it doesn't attack your body, but who you are. It's the silent assumption that the years haven't just wrinkled your skin, but your brain as well. It's that moment the doctor speaks to you in that elder voice, slower, louder, using simple sentences, as if explaining the sun to a 5-year-old. In that instant, they erase your identity. You're no longer the engineer who designed bridges, the teacher who shaped hundreds of minds, or the accountant who managed complex finances. You become an empty vessel that needs simple instructions. This bias has a name: cognitive underestimation. And it's an epidemic. A neuropsychologist who studies medical bias described it to me this way: healthcare providers unconsciously assume that a patient's ability to understand and manage complex medical information plummets after 65. This creates a devastating cycle. Because they think you can't handle it, they don't offer you the best options. And because they don't offer them, you end up with second-rate care. They don't offer you cutting-edge therapies because they require too much follow-up. They don't tell you about clinical trials because they're too complicated to understand. They don't teach you how to use health monitoring apps because they assume technology isn't your thing. They lock you in a prison of simplicity, and that prison has deadly consequences. Meet Louise, 71 years old. For 35 of those years, she was a tenured professor of organic chemistry at a major university. Her mind was a brilliant labyrinth of complex molecules and reactions. When she was diagnosed with breast cancer, she walked into the oncologist's office with a notepad, ready to discuss the pathophysiology of her tumor and the options for targeted therapy. The oncologist didn't even glance at her notes. He patted her hand and said, "Louise, at your age, what we want is a clean and simple solution. A mastectomy, and we're done. No complications." He was explaining simple chemistry to a chemistry professor. He was denying her access to the same advanced therapies, reconstruction options, and clinical trials that are routinely offered to a 45-year-old woman with the exact same diagnosis. Louise didn't stay quiet. She had to fight. She had to bring her academic publications to the office. She had to threaten to take her case to the hospital's ethics board to finally be treated like the brilliant woman she was. She got the advanced treatment, and today she is cancer-free. But she had to go to war for a right that should have been automatic. But that insult ends today. Right here, right now. You will not allow anyone to question the mind you have built over a lifetime. You are going to execute an intellectual authority protocol. Step 1. The preemptive strike. As soon as you sit down, before you even mention your symptoms, establish your authority. "Doctor, before we begin, just so we're on the same page, I want you to know I was a project manager for 30 years. I'm used to analyzing complex data and making informed decisions. I'm asking you to give me all the information, unfiltered." Step 2. Demand the technical language. If they oversimplify, interrupt them politely but firmly. "Excuse me, doctor. I appreciate you trying to make it simple, but I need the technical details. Please, use the correct medical terminology. If I don't understand something, I'll ask." Step 3. The physical proof. Don't just say it, show it. Bring a medical article you've researched about your condition, with paragraphs already highlighted. Have a list of specific questions prepared based on that research. Place the papers on the table. This physical act changes the entire power dynamic in the room. And finally, if you sense any resistance, use the ultimate question, the verbal scalpel that cuts through all condescension. "Doctor, if I were your colleague, a 45-year-old physician sitting here with this exact same diagnosis, what would be all of the options you would put on the table, regardless of complexity or cost?" With that question, you have stripped them of their biases. You have forced them to see you not for your age, but for your right to receive the best medical care science has to offer. You have reclaimed your intellect. You have reclaimed your power. The pills of silence, chemical restraint. We've now arrived at the darkest truth of all. This isn't a bias or an assumption. It's a deliberate action. It's the healthcare system's dirtiest secret, hiding in plain sight at the bottom of a pill bottle. We're talking about psychiatric drugs, sedatives, mood stabilizers. Not when they're used to treat a real, diagnosed condition. We're talking about their use as a weapon to ensure silence, compliance, and convenience. A former medical director of a large hospital confessed to me, his voice cracking with guilt, "Don't call it treatment. Call it what it is. Chemical restraint. It's the act of medicating a patient not to heal them, but to stop them from being a problem." I saw sedatives prescribed to patients who asked too many questions, anti-anxiety meds to those who complained about pain, and antidepressants to those who expressed frustration. It's putting chemical shackles on someone's personality so the system can run with fewer interruptions. Sound like a horror movie? Look at the stats. A devastating report revealed that over 40% of older adults in care facilities are on at least one psychiatric medication. But here's the chilling part. Only 12% have a clinical diagnosis that warrants that prescription. So what are the other 28% of those pills for? They're for overworked staff. They're for administrative convenience. They are to silence complaints, to numb frustration, to fog the mind that still fights and demands. And these drugs are anything but harmless. They are a direct ticket to falls that break hips, to mental confusion that gets cruelly misdiagnosed as dementia, and to cognitive decline that steals your own memories. It happened to Brenda. 69 years old. Her entire life, she was a school principal. Her job was to solve problems, ask questions, and optimize systems. When she had hip surgery, she applied the same logic to her recovery. She grew frustrated with the slow pace and started doing what she did best, asking questions. Why didn't the physical therapist come today? What's the success rate of this protocol? Can we adjust my pain medication? They didn't see her as a proactive patient. They labeled her. In her chart, they wrote one word, difficult. And for difficult patients, the system has a solution. They prescribed her a powerful anti-anxiety medication, not because she had an anxiety disorder, but, and I quote the nurse's note, to help her relax and accept the process. Brenda didn't relax. A thick fog took over her mind. One night, trying to get to the bathroom, her legs didn't respond. She fell. The sound of her wrist shattering on the floor was the sound of the treatment working. The medication meant to help her caused a second injury, for more months of painful rehab, and a profound mistrust in those who were supposed to care for her. This madness stops now. You are going to build a wall of fire around your mind. They will offer you these pills with smiles and kind words like, "It's just to help you rest," or "to take the edge off." You will not accept anything without executing this pharmacological defense protocol. Before that prescription ever makes it to the pharmacy, you will ask 3 lethal questions. Question 1. The exact diagnosis. Doctor, what is the specific medical diagnosis, according to the DSM-5, that justifies the prescription of this powerful drug? Anxiety or agitation are symptoms, not diagnoses. I need the precise clinical pathology. Question 2. The metric for success. How will we objectively measure that this medication is working? I don't want a, "let's see if you feel better." I want clear metrics. Will we measure a reduction in blood pressure? Better sleep patterns tracked by a watch? What specific data point will tell us this is working? Question 3. The exit strategy. Perfect. Now, what is our plan to discontinue this medication? In what time frame, 3 weeks, a month, 6, will we reevaluate the need for it? I will not start a treatment that doesn't have a planned ending. With these 3 questions, you've done something incredible. You've made it clear that you are not an object to be managed, but the CEO of your own health. You've made it clear that your mind is not for sale, and your personality is not negotiable. Always remember, your personality, your questions, your frustration, They are not symptoms to be treated. They are proof that you are still alive and still fighting. Don't let anyone take them away with a pill. The value calculation, when your life becomes a spreadsheet. We've arrived at the final truth. The coldest. The most inhuman. Because this one isn't born from the bias of a tired doctor, but in a boardroom, behind closed doors, where consultants and administrators in expensive suits play God with a spreadsheet. There's a concept in health economics that is the system's best-kept secret. It's called quality-adjusted life years, QALYs. It sounds technical and harmless, right? It's the opposite. It's a mathematical formula designed to ask a brutal question. How much is it worth investing to keep you alive? It's economics disguised as medical ethics. The logic is this. If an expensive treatment, like a state-of-the-art heart surgery, gives a 40-year-old another 30 years of productive life, the system deems it a good investment. But if that same surgery, at the same cost, gives you, at 70, another 10 years of life, the formula labels it a diminishing return. A waste. And based on that cold label, decisions are made every single day. You are denied an organ transplant. You are excluded from an experimental cancer treatment. You are deemed not a candidate for a surgery that could give you back your mobility. Not because your body can't handle it, but because a formula has decided that the years you have left don't justify the expense. You are being sentenced to a premature death for purely economic reasons. And if you think this is a theory, let me tell you Walter's story. 68 years old. A retired engineer. A logical, precise mind that understands numbers. When his kidneys failed, he knew what he needed: dialysis. A standard procedure. But at the hospital, the nephrologist sat down with him and his family and delivered the sentence in soft, kind words. Considering the big picture, and at his age, perhaps dialysis isn't the most appropriate path. We should start talking about palliative care, about keeping him comfortable. They weren't offering him a choice. They were politely showing him the exit. The spreadsheet had spoken. Walter was a diminishing return. But Walter was an engineer. And engineers don't accept a machine telling them something is impossible. He did not accept his sentence. For 3 months he fought. He got second opinions, hired a patient advocate, and filed formal complaints. It was a war of attrition against a system designed for him to give up. And he won. He got the dialysis. And what happened to the man they offered to keep comfortable until the end? He lived for 7 more years. 7. In those 7 years, he saw his first granddaughter graduate from college. He celebrated his 50th wedding anniversary with the love of his life. He traveled. He wrote his memoirs. He lived 7 full and happy years that a mathematical formula had decided he didn't deserve. This is the final battle, and I'm giving you the weapon to win it. When you feel you're being offered a lesser treatment or pushed towards a palliative option, it's not the time to argue about your symptoms. It's time to pull out the scalpel of truth. You look the professional in the eye and you ask them the golden question. The question that dismantles the entire economic argument. Doctor, I want you to forget my date of birth for a moment. If I were a 45-year-old, with this exact same clinical picture and these exact same test results, would the treatment plan you're proposing be the same? If the answer is no, I need you to justify every single difference based solely on medical evidence, not on my age or on cost-benefit statistics. You have just dropped a logic bomb in the middle of the room. You've forced them to take off the administrator's mask and become a doctor again. You've forced them to confront their own bias, to justify a discrimination that, deep down, they know is unjustifiable. They can no longer hide behind phrases like, "It's the most appropriate course." Now they have to defend their decision on the field of pure science, where age by itself is rarely a determining factor. Always remember this: your value is not decided by a spreadsheet. Your desire to live is not an expense, it is the most fundamental right you have. Your life is not an investment. It is your life. And you are going to fight for every second of it. Now you know the 5 truths. But information without action is useless. Knowledge is power. You now have the tools to transform every single medical encounter. Walter, who fought for dialysis. Brenda, who overcame the medication. These are not exceptional cases. They are the result of refusing to accept discriminatory treatment. Every time you challenge an assumption, every time you demand better treatment, you aren't just fighting for yourself. You are paving the way for everyone who comes after you. The system expects you to stay quiet. But you are not the same person you were 27 minutes ago. You recognize the biases, and you have the strategies to defeat them. Your health and your dignity are non-negotiable. If this video opened your eyes, smash that like button and share it with every senior who deserves to be treated with respect. Fighting in the doctor's office is only one part of the battle. The real revolution begins on your plate, in your kitchen. Many of the health problems that doctors dismiss as just part of aging are actually the result of chronic inflammation in your body, caused by stress and a poor diet. If you truly want to take control, it's not enough to know how to argue. You need to give your body the tools to heal from the inside out. That's why I've created the Keto Made Easy eBook. It's not a diet, it's a lifestyle system to reduce pain, boost your energy, and armor your body against the diseases the medical system just expects you to accept. If you're ready to take the next step and become the true owner of your health, the link is in the description. This is your moment. What you've learned today could save your life. But don't get up from that chair. The most important information to truly protect yourself is waiting in these two boxes. On this side, I've left you the complete playlist. A marathon of power so that no one can ever pull the wool over your eyes again. Choose one, but don't leave. Your next discovery is just one click away. Do it now.